It's very easy. So I think knowing where all your money is going is the absolute first step. And often when people see that they're spending that much on going out to dinner or some other area, I've had people realize their coffee habit was $400 a month. They'd go out for coffee and something to eat, and they'd spend a lot, and they didn't realize it was that much. And they said, that's not worth it.
The right conversation can change everything. This is Mirror Talk, Soulful Conversations.
In this episode, we'll be learning about money, financial intimacy, and more from an entrepreneur and executive coach. He has decades of experience in building businesses, coaching professionals, and mastering personal and business finances. Welcome to the show, Doug. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me for a wonderful, soulful Mirror Talk in this episode. I appreciate your presence here today. Connecting with you already has been a huge blessing, and I'm looking forward to learning so much, from you about money, relating to money and our finance also. But before we kick off, I would love to know what inspired you to embark on the journey of building businesses, coaching people, and mastering finances.
Well, as you mentioned, I've spent 18 years doing executive coaching, and that's really helping people build their business. And at this stage of my life, I have 2 grandchildren, 3 adult children, and I wanted to make a bigger impact in people's lives. So I thought about what is a huge problem. And I thought about my life, what has been a real challenge in my life, and the ups and downs of cash flow and managing money and communicating with your spouse, communicating with partners in business is a challenge. We all have different backgrounds and different beliefs. And I thought if I could come up with a system that could help people be on the same page, move it from emotional decisions to rational decisions, and really understand how much you have, not looking at your checkbook balance, but after knowing everything that's already committed and what's really important, that I could make a huge difference in people's lives. So I changed my company from Business Development Group to Get Priorities Straight to help people really master their personal finances and then take the same disciplines into business.
That's so wonderful. And that's why I'm also very happy that I'm speaking with you today, because I want to learn how to get my priorities straight when it comes to, spending my money. Before we started recording, we were bouncing some topic ideas with me, and you talked about, telling your money where to go to, or it's going to tell you what to do, or, building money skills. Like all of those topics are things that I could relate with. Like, if you could share from your journey so far, what is like a repeated pattern of successful people whose personal spending is completely unknown to them and often out of control? Like, what's that repeated pattern that you found in all of them so far?
Well, there's all kinds, but there's no income you can't outspend. And often people that are good at making money may even be paying attention to their business, but often don't pay attention to their personal finances. And then their overhead, their personal overhead grows along with their income. So they're just spending a lot of their money. I have people that are spending $40,000, $50,000 a month net and really don't have anything left. They actually have some credit card debt. Can you imagine making $45,000 a month and having credit card debt? You'd think you'd be able to pay it off.
Yeah.
And now just get to the average person. Things are expensive. And often people have a good idea of what their monthly costs are, but they never factor in all the infrequent things. Whether you celebrate Christmas or holidays, vacations, home maintenance, yard maintenance, car maintenance, license tabs, about 20% of our income is infrequent expenses. So when you factor all that in, we're not really saving enough. People say this is a surprise. Well, it's not a surprise. Your car is going to need work.
Yeah, that's true.
And so what I help people do is really understand what it costs them to live on an annual basis, so they can set aside money every month in a very simple way, so that they have the money when they need it, and they can have cash Christmases, cash vacations. You can pay your credit card off in full every month because we're setting aside money to pay for that. And it's not taught in schools. Our parents didn't model it for us, and it's become more and more complex, which I could talk more about the complexity if you like.
Yes. So please, can you teach us this method? Like, how can we, organize our finance, our personal spending? How can we know how much we have, how much we're having as income, how much we have to spend, how much we owe, and how can we organize all of that? Is that the same thing also as budgeting, or is it different also?
Sometimes you do not need another episode. You need the right moment, the right voice, the right truth for where you are right now. Ask Mirror Talk is a space where you can bring real questions, honest feelings, and the life moments you are navigating. When you ask, you are not met with generic advice or surface-level answers. You are met with insights drawn from real conversations, lived wisdom, and powerful moments from the Mirror Talk podcast. Whether you are questioning, growing, searching, or feeling stuck, this tool helps guide you to reflections, sound bites, and specific episodes that speak directly to what you are experiencing. This is not about fixing you. It is about meeting you. Ask what is on your heart. Mirror Talk will reflect back what may help you see more clearly.
Yeah, so the word budget means to create a projection of income and expense. So you basically say, here's what I think I'm going to spend throughout the year. The problem with that is people rarely hit the targets. They decide what they think it'll be, but then life happens. So I create a spending plan. And the spending plan is not a projection of the year. It's an estimation of what you need each month, but you can only assign money to until you're out of money. You can't decide to spend money you don't have. And when money comes in, then you decide how you're going to do it. So you go all the way to zero, and it helps you really prioritize what's really important and see what isn't important. So if you think about an envelope system, here's an envelope for going out to dinner, and here's an envelope for groceries, an envelope for car maintenance, and all those things. Well, what we do is just electronic envelopes. And I use a current program that anyone can go get called YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. Now there I'm using the word budget, but it's really to create a good spending plan so that when your paycheck comes in, and when we start out, I take everybody's money other than their investments, and we give every dollar a job, whether it's groceries or entertainment or, like I mentioned, car maintenance, or it could be pretty much anything, but we give it a job so we know how much we have in that. At the end of the month, today's the 23rd, you may want to go out to dinner, but you might have spent it all. There's only three options. You either take it from somewhere else, another category, or you add more money, or you go into debt. It's very clear. And if you have other things that are more important, Stephen Covey said it's easy to say no when there's a bigger yes within. It's easy to decide, do I really want to spend that money when I'm planning this trip to go to Italy that's really important to me, or go out to dinner again? Well, I'll take the trip to Italy personally.
Yeah. I have me also. That's true. So
as far as debt goes, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, continue, please.
As far as debt goes, one of the real challenges with credit cards, and the credit card companies have done a great job in their benefit for this, is if you pay the statement balance off on the due date, you will be paying off things that you bought 27 to 57 days ago. So you're literally living off next month's paycheck.
Yeah.
And so I get people to the point, if you're only spending money you have, and let's just assume your credit card balance is zero starting today, and you only spend money you have, it sets aside money to pay off the balance in full. So you can tell if you're going $1 into debt. But most people don't know. And when people use credit cards, expenses are about 23% higher than when we use cash. So it's a big difference. And it's really been a challenge for people because it's unknown. You just pull out your card and pay it. You don't think about how much is your balance on the card before you use it. Most people, you just use it.
Yeah. So you advise us to get rid of the credit card and just, spend what we have, take the cash out and, have everything working for us. Okay, this is the money I have to spend on groceries. And once it's done for the month, I have to make do with what I have for groceries.
Yeah, well, sort of. So I believe in using credit cards, but I don't believe in having debt because it's very expensive money, borrowing other people's money. Credit cards are going to run at the best 9%, but the average is more like 22 to 28%. You can't get that return on anywhere. So, in fact, it's also safer to use a credit card than a debit card. Because if somebody gets your debit card number, they can get into your bank account and take your money. If you have a problem with your credit card, you call up and dispute it, and the credit card company will fight it.
Yeah.
So it's actually safer with a credit card, but you need a good system in place so you can see that what you're doing is within your spending plan. So the app that I use, you can put it on your phone. There is a behavior change. The behavior change is very simple. Instead of buying something and moving on with your life, you buy something, spend 10 to 20 seconds putting it in your phone, and it'll show you if you bought groceries, how much you have left in your grocery budget. And it'll also show you your credit card balance went up because you just charged on your credit card. And you can see exactly where you are. And that's really the key, is being aware. You can't make decisions unless you know where you stand. And so many people go, oh no, I want to spend less on it than that. But I have to say, well, you've spent more every month. I think we need to plan on more because that's what you spend. But often we lie to ourselves thinking we're going to do something we're not.
But does that mean that this system that we, the system of managing our personal spending, is it something we have to always adjust every month, at the end of each month or the beginning of each month? We have to sit down and reorganize our own spending and where our money goes to and all of that. Is it something we have to do every month or just once and it's done?
No, I suggest every week.
Every week.
Now, let me ask you a question. How much time do you think you spend paying your bills, if you reconcile your accounts, reconciling accounts, and just planning your spending every week or every month? What would you say a monthly number is on the time you spend?
I would say about maybe 2 hours every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I teach people is in a half an hour a week, you can, and I'm not going to even ask you this. Most people don't balance their accounts. They don't reconcile their accounts with their bank, all their credit cards and their bank accounts. But you'll be able to reconcile your accounts, pay all your bills, adjust your spending plan, and know exactly where you stand every day of the week, spending a half an hour a day downloading and reconciling. Excuse me, half an hour a week. So about 2 hours a month, we'll cover it. Now, at the first of the month, hopefully you have enough money to plan and adjust your spending plan for the entire month. And that often takes maybe 40 minutes, but it takes maybe 20 minutes the other times. It just depends. Now, that doesn't count having to go up and call the cable company and, argue with them because they raised your bill.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. So you talked about an app that you use. What was your app recommendation for this?
It's called You Need a Budget. The short is YNAB, YNAB, and it's about $100 a year. Doesn't have any advertising. It's the best one I've found out there. Okay. It does an excellent job. And it's really designed just for personal finances. But for small businesses, I have them set it up on their business because they're making financial decisions every day, and they can see what they've already decided to spend for marketing, for entertainment, for clients, for gifts, for anything. When they're making the decision, instead of going, yeah, we really need that. How much do we have in the bank account? Yeah, we can do that. And then at the end of the month, they go, boy, we're really tight this month. These are not surprises.
Yeah.
I can tell you'll be tight this month. It's like time management. When you put in everything you want to do in a day, you don't have any time left. Well, when you put in all the things that are important to you financially, you'll find that it's easier to run out of money than have lots left over because there's lots of things we want to do, things we actually need to do and things we'd like to do.
Yes.
So knowing where you stand on your business finances and your personal finances, I feel is critical because I have found that people waste about 15% of their income. Now, if you're bringing home $150,000 a year, that's $22,500 of waste. Now, you're certainly buying things, and you may be enjoying the extra dinners out or whatever. And I'm not suggesting you go on a diet. All I want you to do is do it intentional instead of just reacting.
Yeah. We have to be intentional.
Yeah, it's being very intentional.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, I actually love that. And I mean, it's a big challenge, but with discipline, with a bit of discipline, one can actually do that, and avoid losing that percentage of amounts of money every year or every month, basically, that we spend. Yeah.
It's a discipline, but it's simple, and you're already spending that much time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people, when I've asked them how much time they spend, they would often answer, including worrying about money. When you know where everything's going and you know you have enough to pay it or where it's coming from or that you have to cut back here to cover that.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just for people that are just getting by.
Mm.
It's surprising that people are even more oblivious that make a lot of money. And here's the kind of bottom line exciting thing. And if I'd known this earlier in my life, I'd be further along. But it's often when I think about people and what they really want, they don't necessarily want to retire and just sit around. They would like to have enough money where they're paycheck optional. They could decide if they want to take a job. They could take a job cheaper. They could work on something like you're doing, which is a passion of yours, and make a difference in people's lives. And they could do it full time because they can afford to, because they have choice. They have choice to work 4-day weeks. They could volunteer. That's really, I think, what people really want is that freedom. And the other thing they really want is peace of mind. Another big comment I hear is, I just don't think about money much anymore because at half an hour a week, I look at it, I make adjustments, I know where I stand, and I don't have to think about it. I'm comfortable, I'm confident. And when it comes to credit cards, I get people paying the balance off in full just on the first of the month. We don't even care what the due date is. We're paying it off in full instead of that 3-week lag. So we're getting ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And that's the real goal. And any financial planner will tell you, and I'm not a financial planner, that you need 3 to 6 months worth of cash in the bank to live on. Very few people have that. And in a business, you need 3 to 6 months worth of operating capital because we don't know what's going to happen. It could be a pandemic. And if you'd asked us 5 years ago with a pandemic happened, we might say, well, maybe. But you ask us now, and we'd say, yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
And it really changed things. For some businesses, they were just right on the edge already, and they're gone.
That's true. You're very right.
So when you have some leeway, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask, how can we, what are some steps we could take towards having that peace of mind when it comes to our finance or getting that leeway, basically, that you're about to talk about?
What can you do?
Yes.
So I think one of the first things you can do, and this is where I disagree with a lot of people, they will say, well, track your spending and get an idea what it is, then you don't have to track it anymore. Well, you're spending a lot of time and energy making money, and it's very, very easy to track your spending. I mean, 10 to 20 seconds putting it in when you buy it. In fact, sometimes you're filling your car with gas and you can have, it remembers where you were, it remembers what payment method, it remembers the category. You just wait and finish it and put in the amount and hit enter. It's very easy. So I think knowing where all your money is going is the absolute first step. And often when people see that they're spending that much on going out to dinner or some other area, I've had people realize their coffee habit was $400 a month. They'd go out for coffee and something to eat, and they'd spend a lot, and they didn't realize it was that much. And they said, that's not worth it. Or television. At $250 a month is costing them $3,000 a year to watch television. Would you write me a check at the beginning of the year? So awareness is key. That's the first step. If you want to become proactive instead of reactive, you have to be aware of where your money is going. And then have a tool. And if you want to use a spreadsheet or something, you can. I find this app is really helpful. My wife has it on her phone. We both buy things and make decisions, and we can see real time where we are. But that's the very first thing, is know where all your money is going. And I would say one other thing is look at all the things that are infrequent in your life. Like I mentioned, home maintenance, car maintenance, license tabs, yard maintenance, Christmas, vacation, gifts, anything that you know will happen, and start setting aside 1/12 of that every month so that you have the money when you need it. Because often people get hit with a big expense and put it on the credit card, and now they're working on paying off the credit card. I would rather have a nice runway so I don't have to think about it or worry about it. And this takes time. This isn't a quick fix. It does take some time to get on top of it. And one of the best ways to get wealthy is live within your means for a long time.
That's true. That's very, very true. And that way we to, let go of this worry and the stress or the anxiety that comes with money and spending money, basically, as long as we're able to live within our means and let go of debts and all of that. But let's say someone has gone into the extreme already, or it happens in life that we incur some debts and there are some high rates on the loans that we have to pay back. How can we manage all of this and optimize these debts and ensure that we take care of all of these debts and loans without losing our peace of mind or getting too worried or anxious?
Well, so the question is really, how do you get out of debt?
Yes.
If you find yourself starting from there? Well, it's back to the same thing. We need to know what it costs us to live. So we need to know where our money's going. And I separate it out into the monthly and infrequent items, a little bit different than YNAB teaches, but similar. So that those are the things that you need to keep the lights on. These are the necessary expenses, and included in that are some personal expenses because you have to buy clothes and get haircuts, and except for me, and get shoes and that sort of thing. But then also it's quality of life things like the vacations and the gifts and donations and things. Now you can put donations in any category you want. I've had people say, no, pets isn't quality of life, it's necessary. But the point is, find out what it costs you to live so you can see, do you have any excess to pay down debt? If you don't, you need to create some. Spend less somewhere else or go make some more money or sell something. Now, that's a simple answer. But the other thing I do is debt consolidation. The problem with debt consolidation is people will go out and get a loan and then they'll go back into debt. So I'll only do it with people that go through my program so that we know they're not going more into debt or getting out of debt. And there's some things you can do to lower interest rates, renegotiate contracts, move from unsecured credit to secured credit, increase credit scores. There's some real specific things we can do to improve your credit score. And now it may sound counterintuitive that I'm talking about using credit, but I'm talking about using credit in a way that benefits us, not the credit card companies. For example, if you have a house and you want to get a home equity line of credit, you can get a 5 or 6% loan today at today's rates instead of paying 24% on a credit card. But we want to make sure that we have a plan to pay off that loan. Because otherwise you're a slave to your creditors. You're getting no value each month from this thing that you're paying for, and you're paying a lot of interest. I've had people where I've sat down and they've been in a situation like you described, and let's say they're about $20,000 in debt, and I've been able to save them over $10,000 the first year.
Wow, that's good.
Just from restructuring it and paying attention.
Yeah, I would love to learn more about your program, about this program of yours. I know on your website you talk about mastering our personal cash flow, for example, and getting our priorities right and everything like that. Can you tell us more about your program and how you use this program to help people get their priorities straight and master their cash flows?
Yeah, so I start out with just a get acquainted meeting just to find out where you are and what you're looking for, what your goals and challenges are. And if people want to move forward, I have a discovery process where I send out a sheet that asks for your income and net worth and liabilities and assets so that I can get a picture of your financial situation. And we've already talked about some of your issues and challenges, but there's an intake form that asks you a few more questions to see if there's anything else you discovered that you want to accomplish. And then I use another thing, and this has to do with working especially with couples, but I do the same thing with individuals and businesses, is a assessment tool called the DISC, which is from Target Training and the Motivator section. The DISC has to do with communication styles, introverted, extroverted, people-focused, task-focused. This just helps me communicate better with clients and understand them better. And those are mostly observable. But the real secret sauce is the motivators. The motivators are not observable, and those are the decision-making filters that we have that make us behave the way we do. And that, I find, is very, very helpful, not only for me relating to them, but in couples and business partners understanding this is how this person thinks. This is important to that person. So we go through both of those, all three of those, the assessment, the net worth statement, and the intake form. And I come up with a list of objectives that we can accomplish over a 10-week program. In the 10-week program, if you've I know you understand technology well. Anytime we learn a new technology, it's different.
Yeah. Yes,
There's
that's
a
true.
learning curve. We make mistakes. So rather than teaching you how to set it up, I set up the whole program and get it working accurately, help you think accurately about how you would categorize things so you don't make them more complicated than they need to be, but so there's enough in there so that you can really manage it well. And then from there, all 10 weeks we spend on focusing on helping you master that, really understanding it, reconciling, get it as efficient and quick as possible. Because it's not easy, you're not going to continue with it. If people want ongoing accountability, I can help them, beyond the 10 weeks. Another thing that I do in the process is as we lay out your plan, I develop a 12-month cash flow projection. So we can see based on your plan, here's how much cash you'll have afterwards, or how much you'll be short if we continue this plan.
Yeah.
So we can adjust it as needed.
Yeah.
And I do, though, recommend that people take a very aggressive approach to getting out of debt, because it's really nice not having debt.
That's true. I mean, it gives you that peace of mind once you know that you have no debt to pay. Yeah, you have debt free basically. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, I still have one debt, and it's my mortgage, but I don't have any other debt. Everything's all paid off every month.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. When you talk about using money skills as today's survival skills, like, how would you explain that? Like, how can we use our money skills as survival skills?
Think about it as simply as driving a car and taking a 3-hour trip. Would you leave with a quarter tank of gas?
No.
You probably wouldn't make it, right? Now, of course, you may stop and get gas, but the idea is if you look at your money as your ability to get somewhere, we need to have enough. But what do? Our society tells us, hey, you can buy it now for zero interest and just pay it on payments. I've had people making $350,000 a year that are just paycheck to paycheck. They have nothing left afterwards. So to survive, we need to understand how it works and be able to manage it in a way that we now have comfort. When the pandemic started, when I started this in 2018, I had a couple of things come up. I had in November, I had a tooth break and I had a crown. And then in March, I had another tooth break and got a crown. They're about $500 each. But then I had a complete shoulder replacement on my left shoulder in April.
Wow.
And then 3 days later, we had to put my dog down. And that costs a few $100s. And then in June, I got the shingles. And then things took a turn for the worse. And we got bed bugs and had to completely empty our house, have it fumigated, move everything out, move it all back in. And this is on a 3 months after I've got a new shoulder, 4 months after I got a new shoulder. You're not supposed to do things for 6 months. Well, without having more gas in our tank, without having an emergency fund, and by the way, we did run out of our $5,000 emergency fund. I had to use our vacation money for the new bed. But we had enough. We were able to take it from other places and roll with the punches. And that's how you can survive. But if you haven't set aside anything for anything, you can't. Now, you can't. People may argue, well, you can't figure out everything you're going to do. No, you can't. But you know that you're going to have some home maintenance things if you own a home. And you know you're going to have some car costs if you own a car.
Yeah.
Cars cost about $150 a month. I've tracked it for years. If yours is less, good for you. You've got some extra, or you're starting to save money to buy another car cash. So you can take those funds out of them for another area. But to survive, I feel, and this, I'm going to get into the marriage side too, not just on a day-to-day knowing where you stand and feeling confident, but on the marriage side, if you're saying, well, we're spending too much or we can't afford that, those are opinions. But if you say, what do we take it out of? We've already given every dollar a job. Should we take it out of vacation? Should we take it out of the new car fund? Should we take it out of home maintenance, even though we need a roof? What should we take it out of? It now becomes much easier and less emotional so that people can work together with full disclosure and complete transparency. And that's something I think is really missing.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you made mention of your marriage, as in marriage, for example, and money or relationships, attached with money. Like, I would love to know. I would love to know how we could best combine our finance, with our relationship, or in your case, for example, marriage, or people that are in partnership. Also, how can we best combine our finance and our relationships, and also create healthy financial intimacy between us?
So people have their own ideas of what they need to do. So often, if it's a marriage, I really feel strongly that you need to combine everything because you've already agreed to combine things so that you know where you're at. I've run into a lot of people that are, one person in the relationship makes a lot more than the other person, and they're splitting it 50-50. And, the one that's not making as much has absolutely nothing left over. And the one that's making more has lots left over. Now, would you want to go into a relationship like that? Most people would say no. And they probably had parents that, hid money from each other and there wasn't high trust. But when you're working together and you say, let's, put this aside for our retirement, for our kids' college, for this vacation, for the home remodel, you can work so much better together. And financial intimacy comes, and any intimacy comes when you feel safe and you feel like you know and understand, and communication is good. And I just define it as generally getting what you want. We're not going to get everything what we want in a relationship, because just the pure nature of a relationship is there's going to be some compromise. And if there isn't, you just married yourself. You want to marry somebody that brings something new to the relationship. So when there's complete transparency, there's trust built. People understand. And so in a perfect world, I guess there's two scenarios. If you're married, you've already made a commitment to, hopefully work together for a long time, right? Lifelong. So let's work together and build something together. If you're just in a relationship where you haven't made that commitment, I would create a single household account that you both contribute to and decide where that money's going. If you want to go out to dinner without your partner, well, that's your expenses. So you cover that on yours. But if we do it together, it'll be our shared expense, and we'll manage that together. When we hit the amount we set, we'll either stop, or we'll take it out of groceries, or we'll take it out somewhere else if you want. But usually when you've planned for other things, you need all that money for that other thing.
That's true.
So I think, again, it's back to that transparency, knowing where your money's going, and working together. And in that half an hour a week I talk about, my wife and I plan an hour a week, because I don't think anybody woke up in the morning or got married to do more administrative work. And there's a bunch of administrative things you have to do in life.
Sure.
So in that full hour, we go through the spending plan, adjust it. It takes me about 15 to download and reconcile everything. My wife downloads and reconciles her credit card and bank account. And then we adjust the spending plan together, which most of the time is just a few adjustments. Oh, by the way, here's where we are with this. We have 17 cents left in our wine budget, whatever it is. And then you say, well, we're having friends over. We're going to take some out of entertainment, and we're going to buy some wine for dinner. Right? You just make those simple decisions. Now, it isn't always that granular, but it makes it so easy when it is, when it's small.
Yeah.
And then we also have a little product. We use Asana, but there's Trello. There's a bunch of little simple project management software. And we go through things that are coming up, whether it's travel, home maintenance, home improvement, things with our family, this insurance policy we have to decide on, getting our will done, whatever it is. And we decide what we're going to do and who's going to do it. And we limit it to an hour. As soon as that hour's up, we're done. If we need to schedule more time for one specific thing, we do it. But we want to be done.
Yeah.
That forces us to decide what's most important to talk about, because you're never going to get your list done.
That's true. And that way you're able to set your priorities straight. Most important things first and do them immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. The word priority in the words was singular. You have one priority. And then we changed it to priorities, which is plural. But how can you decide which one is more important if you have two of them? You really can't.
No.
So I'm not a stickler for saying there's only one, but there is a hierarchy of what's important in different areas of your life. And one of the things that's important to us is that weekly, monthly meeting or weekly family meeting where we or household administration, whatever you want to call it, where we just sit down, we go over next week's calendar to see if we've had any plans change or miscommunications. Also, when somebody invites you somewhere and it's a month out, or it's my nephew's graduation in 2 months, I don't have to say, oh, by the way, I need to tell you about this. I just jot it down on my phone. It pops up in our meeting and say, oh, Luke's graduation is coming up. So it just saves a lot of time, especially when we're tired and it's Thursday night and we have to have this done by Friday morning and we don't want to do it. We have now runway because we're being proactive with our money. We're being proactive with our planning. Is it perfect? No, nothing is. But when you do it every week, if you have to skip a week, you'll be okay. But it's much easier. And I bet you've seen this in doing taxes. If you maintain things regularly, it's much easier to do than if you wait till the end of the year and try to figure out where all your deductions are and everything. You're pouring through a whole bunch of papers. You're trying to remember. It's just a lot more work. So the more you can simplify, I just really believe in simplifying and making it easy.
Yeah.
There's another thing on credit cards too, is people are trying to figure out, well, how do I make my money go further? If you manage your credit cards well and responsibly, because credit scores are only a result of how well you've managed debt. It doesn't have anything to do with can you pay it off for sure. It's just what have you done in the past?
Yeah.
Well, if you manage your credit cards where you're keeping your balances, just paying them off every month. And by the way, just as a tip, if you're going to pay your credit card, pay it the day before or 2 days before the statement closes. Because when the credit card companies look at your utilization between how much you can spend, your credit limit, and how much you owe, the lower that is, the better it is on your credit score. And they'll pull that on your statement close date.
Oh, that's
that's just a little tip on it. But I also use credit cards to get airline miles. And we've got about 1.2 million airline miles.
Wow.
So the family just went down to San Francisco and we had a memorial and we could take them all. And we had hotel points as well. And I just use, many people are going to try to get points and carry a balance and they're going to pay usually 25 to 28% on those cards.
Yeah.
But I don't pay anything on them because I pay them off in full.
Oh, that's good. And that's all we want, right? Always to pay in full. That's basically what we want. I mean, I've learned so much from you today, about, how to organize my spending, how to make sure I, categorize where my money goes to, arranging, like saying, okay, this amount of money goes into groceries or into entertainment and all of that. That's somewhat just a useful skill, a money skill that I need to utilize. But there's one more thing that I would love to learn, like apart from, categorizing where my money goes to, how can I make my money work for me also? How can I send my money out to bring back more money to me?
Okay, so you're talking about investing, being able to earn better returns. So, that's something that, you need to be licensed as a financial planner to give financial advice. And that's not my focus. I am really a pre-wealth manager. I'm someone that, in fact, I have many wealth managers that says, I wish everybody would work with you that I'm working with, because we'll sit down and they say, okay, you're making 15,000. We've identified 9,000 where it's going. Where's the other 6? And they go, well, I don't know, but we don't have a big pile of money sitting around, but we did, build a deck and we bought a car and we went on this trip. And so they really don't know how much is disposable. As far as earning money, the first thing, and I'm going to back up before we get to earning money, is you need an emergency fund. You need a cash emergency fund because there are things you can't plan for. And so I keep a $5,000 emergency fund plus at least 3 months worth of cash to live on before I start investing. This takes away all your financial stress because you know where you stand and you're not making poor decisions. And then it's setting aside. And of course, if you're paying down debt at 18 to 20%, you're not going to make that an investment. So get out of debt.
Yeah.
So from that, I would say then, start becoming educated on finances. And usually one of the simplest ways to do it is to get into an index fund that's spread over multiple companies so that it's safe. But you can do your own research on that because I'm not going to give you financial advice other than, have enough to live on before you start investing it. Because if you are going to invest it somewhere, you want to hold. Have you noticed how the stock market has done this? You don't want to sell when it's down. And that's when people often sell. And you don't want to buy when it's at the top.
That's true.
You just want to be consistent. Slow and steady tends to win the race.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes. I mean, those are wonderful tips, I would say, not advice. Yeah. Not advice, just some tips that one could maybe look into, basically. Yeah. Don't take dog by his word, because it's not a professional financial advisor. But I mean, I find that very valid, because those are some things that I've dodged myself into, or I've looked into also, and they seem to work, basically, like to help me make my money work a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And in going through the process where we look at your investments and your assets and your liabilities, that gives me a good picture to help you prioritize what you want to do and who you'd want to talk to. So I do give direction, but I don't give specific, here's what you should buy, because I'm just not in that business, and it's a tough business when things are not going well.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. I can understand that. I understand that. So what would be your advice to someone out there who is striving towards having this peace of mind when it comes to money and financial intimacy and, just cash flow?
Well, first, I would say that money and happiness are not even related at all. There are people that have a lot of money that are not happy, and people that don't have very much that are very happy. So I would say really understand, again, where you stand and what's really important to you. And for some people, when they're like where I'm sitting, we're looking at simplifying, and we don't need to spend a lot of money. Had a good life, and we're not going anywhere yet, but our priorities are now travel and our grandkids. We don't need more stuff. So decide, based on your incomes, what kind of lifestyle can you afford that allows you to live within it and save some money so that you can invest. And there's so many things that you want to move toward, whether it's investing in your home to make it better, or investing in your kids and for college or retirement. But we definitely want to begin to set aside money. And knowing how much you've been building up in each category when something happens, and we just had something happen that we didn't plan on. Our cat got sick and had a big cyst in its spleen, and we had to put it down. And the vet bill was $1,000, and it was $200 to put her down. So it was $1,200 we didn't plan on.
Yeah.
And we had the money to do it. But not just our emergency fund. We also have another fund called our fun fund. And in addition to our monthly expenses, we both put in $75 for each of us. It's only $75, but my wife had about $1,400. I had about $900. And we just split the bill on the cat so we didn't have to deplete our emergency fund and pay it back. That's, I think, what really gives you peace of mind, is you can see that you have enough. We also, I think, have to really be more content with what we have. We're so focused on the gap, where we want to be, that we often forget that we are living better than kings and queens ever lived. We've got heat, no drafty castles. We've got medicine. We've got a clothes washer. We've got, a lot more. Those days were not all that great, and we are so lucky in where we live. But people focus on what they don't have instead of focusing on what they do have. And I think that's really a key around peace of mind and being grateful. And then money is just a tool. Money, I think, I equate it to our life energy. We have a certain amount of hours we'll live in our life. And how we spend those is like how we spend money. And we're spending it earning money. Well, if you're going to invest this life energy going to work day in and day out, why do you want to just waste it or not pay attention to where it's going? You can spend it on anything you want. It's your money.
That's true.
But do it on purpose, not because all of a sudden you saw something that you think you'll buy. When you think about what's really important, you're not very tempted with things like that. Now, you may adjust too. Something comes up and everybody wants to go on a cruise, and a cruise sounds really good. You say, well, we can pull from multiple funds. The cars are in good shape. We can get 500 from each car. You can start putting things together to get a plan. Yeah. The financial intimacy side is working together.
Yeah.
It's not having one person just do it and the other person be oblivious. Usually one person will lead it, but it's sitting down each week and saying, here's where we are.
Yeah.
And I
avoiding
think that's really powerful.
Yes.
Sounds simple. It is simple.
Is it really simple? I mean, I think it takes a lot of work to get to that level of simplicity that you're talking about. Once you get there, it becomes an easy cruise, basically.
There is some work to get it there, just like building any new habit. But often the returns are worth it.
Yeah, you're right.
But, both people have to be on the same page and both people have to agree. You can't change anyone. And if you've been married or in a relationship, that's true. It's hard enough to change ourselves.
You're right. Wow. Doug, I've learned so much from you in this episode. I had so many things to reflect upon. In case there's people out there who would love to ask you questions or make more inquiries, what's the best way to connect with you and what's the best way to work with you and maybe engage in your course also, your programs also?
Well, I'm happy to do a free Get Acquainted meeting with anybody. My website is getprioritiesstraight.com, but that's a lot to write out. So if you just go to schedulewithdoug.com, you'll see my calendar and you'll see my website, my phone number, my email, and you can certainly contact me any one of those ways or just set up a meeting.
Awesome. That's great. I'm going to provide the information to your Facebook, your Instagram, your website, your LinkedIn also in the show note of this episode. So I encourage everyone to just click on the links, connect with you on any platform that you want to take part in your course, also have some schedule some calls with you and just become better people when it comes to their money skills and personal cash flow. Thank you so much, Doug, for this awesome conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Awesome.
If this conversation resonated with you, consider following or subscribing to Mirror Talk on your favorite podcast platform. You can also support the show by sharing this episode with someone who might need it and by leaving a 5-star rating. It helps these conversations reach more people who could benefit from them.
Thank you very much.